I'm Kate Jordan from Bell Direct, and joining me today is Daniel Kenny, CEO and Managing Director of OncoSil Medical. OncoSil is a medical device that provides treatment to target pancreatic and liver cancer. It has the potential benefit of reducing the serious side effects associated with standard radiotherapy. The biotech industry has always held the interest and suspicion of investors. And the particularly interesting aspect of OncoSil is that because it's a medical device, it has the potential to move through US FDA requirements much faster than a drug. And only just recently, the company announced that a review for a CE mark has been fast-tracked for October. So to start off with, Danny, I just wanted to find out a little bit more about you. Where did your interest in biotechs come from?
My passion is all about the marriage of science and business. That's always been my career focus. And I've spent a lot of time in industry, almost 30 years. I can't believe that, but almost 30 years working predominantly overseas. So I'm trying to leverage that international experience, leading large teams, large franchises for Roche, for Baxter, applying that knowledge for the benefit of OncoSil Medical.
So OncoSil has often been described as a mini Zyrtex. How would you describe the business being similar or different?
There's going to be similarities between OncoSil Medical and Zyrtex, and the analogy is, I understand that. The market sees Zyrtex brachytherapy and OncoSil Medical brachytherapy as one and the same. But there are unique differences between the two companies and the path forward. The similarities will be, one, the fundamentals will always be the same. We're going to develop a very robust, highly professional training program to certify hospitals and physicians to use our device. We're then going to deploy a strong professional sales force in Europe initially and in other geographies to drive clinical adoption. And of course, we're still going to maintain a strong R&D focus to secure our US approval in the future.
Yes, I find it really interesting about with both businesses is that it's a medical device rather than a drug.
Correct.
So can you explain to our viewers and clients, why that's important?
Well, there's a number of ways to describe it, but basically our device is essentially microparticles that are implanted directly into a tumour. Those microparticles are radioactive, and so they irradiate the tumour, kill tumour cells from internal. So unlike external radiation beam therapy, where there is some degree of collateral damage, where the patient does suffer side effects from the external radiation, here we implant the device directly into the tumour, whether it's a pancreatic primary tumour or a primary liver tumour. It's implanted directly into the tumour, and the tumour is then irradiated from within. The radiation does not extend to beyond the confines of the tumour itself, and our device is used in conjunction with standard chemotherapy. And that's essentially the difference. It's considered a device because we're implanting particles into a tumour rather than the patient absorbing a normal drug that's systemically absorbed.
So I guess this is important for potential investors because the path to commercialization is typically faster for a device rather than a drug. Is that correct?
Well, it's considerably faster. It depends on how long, what's your actual window for measuring how long it takes to develop the device. But we can trace the history of the OncoSil device back almost 15 years. This year we've spent most of the year consolidating all of our data to actually do a regulatory filing. We're expecting to achieve CE mark approval in late October, early November. We're now in active discussions with the FDA about US approval. But invariably the path to CE mark and the path to a device approval is much shorter, but it's very difficult to do the comparison, but it's still a multi-year process, and we're coming to the end of our approval process.
So it sounds like the CE mark might get approval in October. What's this going to mean for the company in terms of revenue and future growth?
Yeah, great question. For us, it's a major catalyst. It means that the device has received its first approval, and we then move into commercialization. And so we'll do an initial deployment of a sales force using medical science and liaison reps in Europe to sell our device, and in other geographies, because many geographies in the world, with the exception of the United States, recognize the CE mark. So for us, CE mark means the device is approved and we move into sales. It's too early to talk about sales revenues, but we will be very aggressively pursuing commercialization in the European top 5 markets and in other key geographies as we move forward. But an important element of that is to drive clinical adoption through a very robust and professional training program, because no one can get access to this device unless they've been properly certified and trained. So training and commercialization go hand in hand.
Okay, so the CE mark is the next catalyst.
Correct.
What about US FDA?
US FDA approval is expected at this stage at around the end of 2018, early 2019. We're in active discussions with the FDA on our investigational device exemption program, and we would hope to be making some announcements around that before the end of the year, and then move into another phase of R&D to secure US approval.
And so once you've reached commercialisation, are there any future research or studies that you need to do?
Yeah. To quote from one of our advisory board members, we've only just scratched the surface on the clinical utility that can come from this device. I mean, our major focus at the moment is pancreatic cancer and obviously primary liver cancer. But there's a whole range of additional studies that can be done to broaden the usage and the clinical adoption of this device. And we'll make announcements about that in the coming months.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Danny.
Great. Thank you.